and thanks for being a long-time fan of mine, and let's get underway. Welcome to everyone. Today, I haven't been doing this for a long period of time, but it's time for a breakdown, and Grayson, thank you so much for being my guest today. Thank you for assisting in the UFC 276 breakdown, and need to say, always a pleasure to be, with a long-time fan and with a person who really, really knows a lot about grappling, and we see it by your comments, and it's probably going to be a real true pleasure to go through this card with you. So we can kick off right off the bat. The first one is Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz. I will let you talk about what you think about this one. I'm just going to tell you, I'm Taekwondo black belt, so O'Malley going to be my favorite in this one. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I love this fight. I went back and watched a little bit of tape, actually, and I was watching some similar style matchups in my mind. I think that the Frankie Edgar matchup is a good one. He's been able to get outpointed a number of times. He's a little bit plodding at this point in his career. I think that Sean O'Malley is going to be able to stick and move and avoid the calf kick and take away a decision because Pedro Munoz has a amazing chin.
Well, yeah, that's true. He definitely has amazing chin. That's number one. And of course, we've seen the case of hurting in the fight between Sean O'Malley and I believe it was Marlon Vera. Not sure though. I think it was against Marlon Vera. We've seen the case of hurting. And also his knee buckled. But on the other side, he's got a great lateral movement. He's great, fighting great on the outside. But don't forget that the greatest danger for the Taekwondo fighters is that weaving overhand right. And Munoz floored a legendary guy with that strike.
Yeah, it's very true. Munoz should, in theory, have a grappling advantage here. I just don't think he's going to be able to close the distance effectively. I think it's just going to be a lot of jabbing, switching stances. Are you going to have a bet on this fight, Vlad? Are you going to throw Sean O'Malley into a parlay?
Actually, I don't think I'm going to throw it, but I'm going to throw Strickland into a parlay. I plan to throw Strickland into a parlay. Many people ask me that, but you know why I'm going to fade O'Malley? I'm going to fade O'Malley because of the fact that he hurts himself too easily. As a former Taekwondo guy, that's our general problem. We hurt ourselves very easily, especially when you're making a transition. And Sean O'Malley spinning, I believe it's a spinning back fist to a spinning heel kick. If you miss that, you can get countered very badly. And he missed that once, but didn't get countered against Munoz. If he misses that, weaving overhand right is going to slam him. Believe me, I'm really scared of that guy Munoz's power.
You're going to be rooting for Sean O'Malley, though, I imagine, a fellow Taekwondo distance kickboxing style. That's right up your alley.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Who are you going to root for in this fight? I mean, this is a tricky fight to me. Maybe I'm giving 52 or 53% to O'Malley. Munoz is not a guy to underestimate.
I think that at this point in his career, I think that the speed is just so much. I actually put it closer to 70% for Sean O'Malley. I think that he's going to have to, I don't think there's a real path to victory for Pedro outside of the calf kick. And I think that Sean is going to be ready for that, prepared for that. And I think that the Chito Vera calf kick was somewhat of a fluke. He hit the perennial nerve with his big toe. It wasn't like a clean calf kick, traditional kill the muscle. So I don't buy into the narrative that he can't take kicks like some people do.
When we're talking calf kicks, there is a generally problem with the Taekwondo guys is the fact that Sean O'Malley is in sideways stance. I don't know how you call it. We call it sideways stance here. And the problem with sideways stance is vulnerability to calf kicks and low kicks. But again, step direct forward, step direct backward definitely goes in the favor of Sean O'Malley. And if you ask me about hitting that kick, well, it landed on the perfect spot. But was it accidental? Was it a fluke? Well, maybe it really was. Let's be honest. Maybe it really was.
Although Chito Vera at this point, if they rematched, I'm not sure I wouldn't favor him again. At the time, I thought maybe it was a bit of a fluke victory, but now from what we've seen out of him, he's just a man on a mission. I wouldn't want to put my money against him.
Well, if we're going to talk about Chito Vera, since I started training, my style is a bit modified from Sean O'Malley to Chito Vera. Now, if you mix them up, now you got some kind of a mixture. Because my coach, for example, likes many how to say moves from Chito Vera. For example, ground and pound, he took all from Chito Vera. Literally, he is like elbows are stronger than punches, and it makes sense to some point. So yeah, I mean, my coach is a big fan of Chito Vera, and he constantly says that Chito Vera is a top 5 guy for sure. He told it like 2 years ago, and I think he's right about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of you and your coach, I'm sure you guys really enjoyed the scrambles in the Mateusz Gamrot versus Arman Tsarukyan fight. Like, that's a MMA grappler's dream fight right there.
Yeah, definitely. And you noticed me that like your coach is showing that every single time on Instagram. Yes, but my coach knows that, my coach used to be a wrestler. I used to be a BJJ guy, but my coach is like obsessed with that, and I'm obsessed with long range striking. So now we can help each other. But literally, these Gamrot scrambles, Gamrot scrambles, he was showing that on Instagram. You remember that, right?
I didn't actually see it yet. I've got to check that out on Instagram. I always love his instructionals on these little short videos. I learn a lot from them.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. Absolutely. So we're picking Sean O'Malley here. In the next fight, I'm going to tell you one thing. The only reason I'm picking Sean Strickland is the next. You know why? Pereira is a kickboxer, and kickboxers forward, backward, step back, forward, step back, backward. Strickland is constantly doing this. That's a big problem for a kickboxer. I know it as a former kickboxer. When somebody does it to me, I go insane. I literally go insane. I stay away from that guy. I don't want to fight.
The biggest question for me on this fight is, will Sean O'Malley have too much ego? I mean, not Sean O'Malley. Will Sean Strickland have too much ego to shoot for takedowns? I think that there's a chance he goes out there and tries to prove that he's the greatest striker in the division and out-jab him. Meanwhile, getting on top would be the best path to victory.
I can't answer your question. Knowing Sean Strickland, you know that James Lynch is constantly saying that Strickland is unpredictable, so I'm fading that answer. Sorry, you'll have to ask someone else.
I am going to pick Sean Strickland outright, though. I do think that he should be the favorite here. I think the level of experience difference is massive. You look, Pereira was taking kickboxing fights about a little over a year ago. Meanwhile, Sean Strickland is a lifetime jiu-jitsu player, and people forget early in his career, he was taking people's backs and choking them out. And from a betting perspective, I actually noticed that the Sean Strickland submission prop is plus 1,200, 1200. So that to me is definitely a big value. I think that 8% implied for that is way too low.
I need to tell you something. At my local bookie, Strickland is a heavy underdog. I mean, at American bookies, plus 100, plus 105, minus 105. At my local bookie, plus 130. It's like, are people, I mean, why are they so high on Pereira? He trains with Glover, so what? I mean, it's Sean Strickland, man.
It's also probably worth noting that he probably doesn't have Glover Teixeira for this camp with him, given the damage he took from Yuri Prohazka.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit surprised that you're going with Strickland, though. As a kickboxer to go against Pereira, I thought for sure you'd...
I'm going to tell you one thing. I want Pereira to win. I'm not going to lie. I want Pereira to win. But listen, this is that sentence for a kickboxer. Sean Strickland style, this angle. This is that trap for a kickboxer. Unless Pereira starts training with a coach who knows to change angles properly, his style not gonna work, man. I mean, against Michailidis, I can't call it a fluke flying knee, but for example, do it against any guy from my dojo, they are going to evade that knee. Michailidis is just a guy with a lot of pressure. I'm not saying it was a fluke. Pereira hits very hard, but Strickland is constantly not on the central line. I'm just talking about technical aspect of the game. We call it away from the central line. You can correct me if you call it differently.
No, for sure. He definitely keeps his head off the center line consistently. And as a defensive boxer, he's very responsible, especially since we've seen him at 185 pounds. His chin has been very solid, and he's hard to hit clean. You know, great strikers like Uriah Hall were trying to tee off on him, and they couldn't really land the shots that they wanted to. If Sean's willing to mix in takedowns here, he has the potential to look like a big favorite, just given the difference in jiu-jitsu skill. I think if he's willing to commit to that, I would make him maybe even minus 200.
That's true, absolutely true, and that's one of the reasons why I'm pretty much scared of it. Plus, Pereira has another weakness, and that weakness is the fact that Pereira is constantly aiming for 1-2, and Strickland is very responsive with this. That's a problem, you see? See? When you hit here, it rocks you. You know, that scares me a lot, especially because Pereira is over-aggressive, and Uriah Hall was not over-aggressive.
As someone who's rooting for Sean Strickland, the thing that keeps on showing up in my nightmare situation for him is that lethal left hook, because I think there is not a more brutal punch in that division than Alex Pereira's left hook. It could put down a mule.
Yeah, that's true. But right now, it seems both of us are on Strickland. Now, let's transition to Alexander Volkanovsky versus Max Holloway. I'm not gonna lie, I think Holloway was robbed in their previous fight. And I'm gonna say fight goes the distance because I don't see anybody stopping anybody. So first prediction gonna be fight not going the distance. If I must pick a side, gonna go with Holloway, but I'm not gonna bet on that fight. Definitely not gonna bet because it's too unpredictable. Because judges can ruin that parlay, and I'm not gonna risk with that. I don't know what you think about that. But we've seen some examples of pretty much bad judging. For example, Jean Frey versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Yeah, it was a close fight, but for me, Jean Frey won that fight. Again, maybe somebody gonna disagree. I'm not saying I'm the best ref in the world. No, I'm not. But again, we've seen terrible examples of judging. For example, Gamrot scoring. I didn't give round 4 to Gamrot because I gave him round 2, but I didn't give him round 4 because Armand dropped him. So you've seen high kick to spinning back fist. I even showed that combination today on TikTok. And I think on Instagram too I showed it. And he rocked him. Or I showed Umar, I don't remember. But he rocked him with that. I mean, when you rock someone, when it's a knockdown, we've seen bad examples of judging. So what do you think about that fight?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. It's not too often that we get guys who are legitimately top 5 pound for pound in my eyes fighting each other in the same division. I think if these other two didn't exist, they're both the dominant solo champion. It's Max Holloway, Volkanovsky, and then a big gap between the rest of the division. From a betting standpoint, I don't think I can get involved because I think the odds are very accurate. We've already seen Volkanovsky win the fight twice. Putting him 2-1 as a favorite seems just about right to me. Like if it goes to a decision, who knows? You said it. 30-27 for Vanessa Demopoulos when we all saw her take a beating. I think that the Calvin Kattar not getting round 4 against Josh Emmett was also terrible. And it's just tough to trust your money with these fights that are likely going to decision. And these guys are both so durable. Like you said, it's going to be a closely fought decision that I think Volkanovsky probably edges it out on kicks.
Well, I'll have to disagree with you. I think Holloway deserves the victory this time unless judges are high. And I think last time judges were really high. And I watched that fight 6 times. And I scored it 3-2 for Holloway every single time. Either they are high, either I am high. But I don't smoke weed, so...
You gave rounds 1, 2, and 3 to Holloway?
Yes. Yes, I think you asked me that question on my stream. I think, yeah, you asked me that question. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. How did you score?
I think 3 is just such a toss-up. If I recall, it's been a while since I watched it, but I remember 3 being the round that it was just 50-50, and I felt like people couldn't really call robbery either way. When I first watched it, I definitely thought it was Max Holloway got robbed. I actually bet on him in that fight, but after watching it back, I think that it was about 50-50. Round 3 was a toss-up, but 1 and 2 were clear, and 4 and 5 were pretty clear.
Yeah, but I gave him round 3 because of a head rock and 1 heavy strike. That's why I gave you. And the rule says damage in the first place. As much as I can remember, Volkanovsky didn't drag him to the ground in that fight, in that round. But you can correct me if I'm mistaken.
No, I think you're right. It's crazy the cardio that's going to go on in this fight, the pace that these two can hold on, because we've never seen anybody else be able to beat Max Holloway in the 4th and 5th round. Like, he's one of those fighters that I thought it was impossible, like beating Colby Covington in the 5th round. You just don't do it. But now we see Volkonovsky brings that next level of conditioning. It's going to be amazing. The so high level striking. I wouldn't be shocked if Max tries to mix in takedowns like he did against Yair Rodriguez, considering he lost a kickboxing match the first 2 times.
I need to disagree with you again, and now I'm going to use the scientific facts. You have one lovely book at UFC Performance Institute, and believe it or not, 60% of fights takes place in stand-up. Now, I know you're going to laugh, but that's true. That's true, like 60% of fights. And I was trying to make a statistics for Holloway versus Volkanovski for their previous fight. Stand-up on distance was, I think, around 85-90%. So what am I trying to say? Technically, it's very much possible to have a wonderful cardio in those positions. But if you try to mix it up with clinching, wrestling, full mounting, scrambles, rotations like in Gamrot's case, that explains why Gamrot was on point while Arman was slowing down in round 4 and 5. But if the fight stays in the stand-up, it wastes way less energy than scrambles, transitions, slams, submission attempts. Submission attempts are killing cardio. I mean, let's be honest. I tried 3 submission attempts and I'm done. And I can stand and bang for 3 rounds, no problem. I don't know how it goes with you, but I think you're gonna agree with that one.
It's interesting because I think it depends on what your base martial art is. Because I see other people like Michael Chiesa, and when he's in a kickboxing match, he tends to look like he's slowing down rapidly. But then as soon as he gets a takedown, it looks like he has a second wind when he gets back to his comfort zone of jiu-jitsu. So I think someone like you who's got a long kickboxing background, you're always gonna have better kickboxing cardio. It's just a different type of cardio, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy like Mateusz Gamrot, of course you can roll for 5 rounds. But I mean, rolling is not too hard I'll try to be swift. Rolling is not too hard to me, but wrestling pressure, it's like the worst thing that can happen. Like when you have to wrestle and pressure, when you have to be on the tips of your toes, that's a suicidal. For a kickboxer, that's a suicidal. But as you said, you probably come from grappling, and that's very easy part for you.
Certainly easier than striking. I find that if I try to keep up with one of your workouts, your kickboxing workouts, I'm going to be gassed out in 3 minutes, but I can roll a few rounds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that it depends on your basic martial arts. So your pick is Volkanovski, my pick is Holloway, right? All right, let's transition to the main event of the evening. Adesanya versus Cannonier. Now, I'll be honest, this is the clash of styles. Cannonier knows to hit hard, but Adesanya moves way better. And I expect a very much technical war. Unless Cannonier rocks him early on, I don't see it as a good fight for him. Are odds on point? Absolutely no, but do I see Cannonier destroying Adesanya? Hardly. Adesanya moves way better than him, plus this is a big cage. So the only reason for saying I am giving greater chances to Adesanya is because of a bigger cage. If it was a smaller cage, I would pick Cannonier. What do you say?
Yeah, the big cage is definitely a huge factor with someone like Adesanya who operates with space so well. I don't think that Cannonier is going to be able to hold Adesanya down. And in a kickboxing match, for 5 rounds, there's almost nobody that I would favor over Israel. And I think that actually from a betting perspective, the TKO KO props are a bit inaccurate. I saw Adesanya by KO at plus 200 on my bookie. And I think that people's perception's a little thrown off because if you look at the people he's fought, it's been Marvin Vettori twice, Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker twice. People who are historically very durable and tough to finish. And now you got somebody who's 6 years older than him, who's going to try to take it to him in a striking battle. He also got dropped with a counter shot by Derek Brunson in his last fight. I think that all these things add up to an Adesanya KO in amazing fashion.
Well, I'm gonna say that my bookie is high again. Believe it or not, Adesanya decision is plus 170. I'm like, something is wrong with them, obviously.
Yeah, are you going to have any betting action on this fight, you think?
I think I can only pick Adesanya straight. I will think about this fight. But for main card, I'm telling my fans right now, I am for sure going to bet on Sean Strickland. For Adesanya, I will think. For preliminary card, I will let everybody know tomorrow. But about this fight, I'm still thinking. But if I must pick a side, definitely gonna be Adesanya. For main card, I'm betting on Strickland. I know he is the underdog, but I'm a die-hard kickboxing guy, etc. But I know the greatest weakness of kickboxers. First of all, we are not learned to be on the tips of our toes, and my coach is now literally killing me with drills to put me on the tips of my toes. So that's a big problem for us. Sean Strickland is constantly on the tips of his toes. He constantly switches stances, constantly goes laterally, stays away to the right, which is a suicidal mission for Alex Pereira. Unless Pereira significantly changes something, every single aspect of the game goes against him. I'm talking about technical aspect of the game, not talking about betting. I mean, in betting aspect of the game, he is a favorite, but in technical aspect of the game, destroying a guy who is not on the central line is very, very, very hard.
I'm with you. I have bets on Sean Strickland as well. They actually, on the offshore bookies, they opened him at plus 155. So I had to jump on that with a decent sized wager for myself. Sean Strickland should not be plus 155 against almost anybody in the division, let alone someone with less than 6 professional fights.
Well, even my book is not that crazy like yours. My book is plus 120 right now with Strickland.
I still think that's value. I think Strickland is at least 50-50 here.
Yes, definitely agree. So let's see. The most confident pick is definitely going to be Strickland for both of us. So let's see. We have O'Malley both. We have Strickland both. Holloway, Volkonovsky, we disagree. And we agree on the pick on Adesanya, or you're siding with Cannonier.
No, Adesanya is going to style on him, Paulo Costa-esque.
Yeah, that's what I say. And first of all, Jared Cannonier is not a super durable guy. That's a problem with the very big muscular guys. They're extremely dangerous within the first 10-15 minutes. But what if the fight advances into championship rounds?
Absolutely. We also saw guys like Robert Whittaker outpoint him on the outside for 25 minutes. His 1-2 head kick even dropped him at one point. So I think that the damage is going to add up quickly. The jab game, Adesanya is going to be winning the footwork battle, getting the foot position he wants and landing his jab early and often. And I don't think that I can't recall a time when Cannonier has gotten out jabbed in the UFC where he's had a guy much longer than him who's just landing jabs consistently. I don't think he's going to be used to that. Maybe the Dominic Reyes fight where he got KO'd, but it's going to be a tough challenge for him.
I will have to think very, very much about this fight because last time, before Gamrot fight, I said Gamrot decision. I went to my bookie and they gave me excellent odd, which was, I think, plus 450, something like that. It was excellent odd on Gamrot decision. And the last minute I say, well, I'm going to fade it. And then I've seen how much of an idiot I actually was. But I asked for the odd. They're like, oh, plus 550. I'm like, and then I said, I'm fading. I'm like, big mistake, but yeah.
That was bet of the card. You almost got it.
Almost, but I said to my bookie, I'm canceling it. I'm not gonna, And then I've seen how much of an idiot I was. So for this, I'm for sure betting on Strickland. So that's 100% about Adesanya, I'm gonna think. I wanna say thank you so much for taking part in this breakdown. I will put it to creation. I'll probably post it as a premiere, as a premiere or we'll see. I will put it to creation now. Probably some middle of the night when I go to sleep, it will go live. I will message you on IG, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Vlad. You're the man.
Yeah, you too. Have a great day and night, and catch you later. Catch us for some other time.